Hey guys, my name is Matt. I live in Minnesota in the United States of America. I'm 28 years old and I actually went to college with your teacher Chris. He asked me to ask a couple questions from you guys, so here's kind of the American point of view. Alright, first question is from Anna, and she says, what do you think about Germany? I think Germany is a big country. It's a big part of Europe. A lot of history with the country. Beautiful country. There's forests and mountains to the south, and then you have the sea to the north. So I think overall my thoughts about Germany are pretty positive. The next question is from Micah, and he asks, what stereotypes do you have of Germany? I think stereotype for me would be that everybody rides the train drinking beer, eating bratwurst, and wearing lederhosen. The next question is from the entire class. What image do you have of German and American people, and what differences are there? It's kind of an interesting question. Actually, before I met Chris, I don't know if I ever actually thought about the differences between German and American people. It was very interesting to see that Chris knew probably more than American TV than I did. He watched American movies, watched sports. Me and Chris could talk a lot about, football and basketball. So it was kind of fun to see that there really probably isn't that much difference between German and American people. The next question, Rika asks, does America really stand for liberty, justice, and equality? Yes, I would say we definitely stand for that. I don't think we always, hit that mark. But as a whole, our country tries to make sure that everybody has a chance to succeed in life. Everybody is equal. In saying that, I'm actually going to roll right into Julian's question, where he said, is life in America fair for everybody? And I would say no. There's poor people here, there's poverty here in America. It's definitely not fair for them. It could be one reason or another. It may not even be their fault. But if somebody doesn't have an education, it's going to be an uphill battle for them to succeed in life. And I think that part is probably everywhere in the world. But America is not fair for everybody. The more work you put in, the better off that person's going to be. All right, Midori asks, what do you think about Islam and ISIS? That's an interesting thing. I think there's still some thought in America and some real judgment that is put on, I guess, the Islam nation as a whole. A lot of this stems from the generation that was around during September 11th of 2001. You start seeing terrorists from a certain race, and immediately I think Americans are a little bit taken aback and get upset with that. It's easy to lump that into Islam as a whole, but when you see some of the bad stuff that IS is doing, it kind of brings back a lot of memories from that time frame. And so, overall, there's I would say a negative feeling towards that entire group, whether that's fair or not. Justin asks, what is your view on weapons, and should Americans be allowed to have a gun for protection? My personal view is yes, Americans should be allowed to have a gun for protection. It's something that the people that made our country believed in. When the British were fighting us in the wars, it was all these farmers and stuff who had their own weapons for protection. Not that we necessarily need that nowadays, but if I live in a city and I want to protect my family by having a gun in case my house gets broken into or whatever, I don't want to have the bad guy have a gun and me only have a knife or a baseball bat. I want to have something for protection. So that's just my personal view. America itself seems pretty divided on this topic. It's something that our politicians talk about every single election on whether we should have the access to guns, stuff like that. But my personal opinion is we do have the right to have guns if we want to. All right, next question. Anna asks, what prejudices do you think that Germans have about Americans which are totally wrong? Oh, it's a good question. I would think that you guys think that Americans are all fat, we all drive sports cars, we all have iPhones, and we're all loud and mean. All right. Marvin asks, do you talk about the National Socialism in school? Yes, we do. It's a pretty big part of American history. It was a major war that we were a part of. Obviously, we were in war with Germany, but we were also in war with Japan for part of it. And it's a pretty important time. So in school, especially in history class, we do talk about National Socialism even before America was a part of the war. We kind of talk about the build-up and how that happens, and kind of the American view of that. So that was a good question. Carolyn asks, how do you feel while singing your national anthem? I would say a lot of Americans are very patriotic. We have a lot of pride in living in this country and being from this country. I would say, you feel good singing it, especially around, wartime or around September 11th. There are a lot of emotions that kind of came out. Americans would cry when they'd hear the national anthem, and you still see a little bit of that. But other than that, I think it's just a song that kind of reminds us that we live in a country that's as good as America. Felix asks, are there some kinds of racism noticeable in the U.S.? I would definitely say yes. I think the country has made a lot of advancements within the last 50 years. Back in the day when the African Americans were fighting for their civil rights, was a very bad time. I think for our country, we aren't really proud of what we were doing in terms of segregating them. We've gotten much better. They have a lot of equal rights that that everybody has in the U.S., but there's still definitely racism in terms of more so stereotypes. Even against Islamics, there's some racism, but the one thing that's interesting about the United States is we truly are a melting pot. Everybody that lives here understands that they came from immigrants within just the past few hundred years. So my ancestry is actually from Norway and partially German, which is interesting. But there's a lot of kind of questions out there when we have Mexicans and Asians and blacks and Europeans, and we have so many different people living in the same country, that I think there's still a lot of stereotypes that are around, and sometimes things still do boil over, but I think it's a lot better than it has been in the past 50 years. Final question was from the entire class, and it is, why is America the best country in the world? I don't think America's the best country in the world. I feel proud to live in America, and I think my personal opinion is America's the best country in the world, but I think the only way I can answer that is saying that America gives everybody the opportunity to succeed in life. It's really the matter of how much work you want to put into it. Do you want to go to college? Do you want to be a lawyer, or do you want to be a janitor? Whatever you want to do in life, you have that option in America. So I think that alone is the only reason why I would say America is the best country in the world. But you see a lot of other countries in the world that give every citizen that same option. So I don't think I can necessarily proclaim that for the world that we're the best. One bonus question is, are Americans really that fat? No, we're not. And there is a McDonald's about 2 minutes away from my house, but I don't really like McDonald's. I can go there from time to time, but I think the food is kind of gross. So bye, Chris. Bye, class. Hope you guys are doing well, and hope this helps.